I looked up the definition for mother. I never had any children. I was married 42 years before my husband passed away, and I married Mark. And so I never had any children. So on Mother's Day, they would always give you something for Mother's Day, and I'd tell them, I'm not a mother. And they'd say, well, it didn't matter. Well, I wished I had read this definition because I was a mother. I might not have been a mother to children right away, but I was a mother to a lot of animals. The definition that I had found was a woman who has borne a child, or a woman that has nurtured, cared for, taken care of, looked after, tended, fed and protected, supported and encouraged, fostered, trained, educated, or helped in the development of a child. Now, the Lord had a reason, I'm sure, for me not to have children, and that was revealed later on. But He did prepare me. And so the first phase that He gave me was to see if plants could survive my motherhood. I am so afraid to tell you that none of them survived. I had ivies, I had cactus. They did not survive. I lost all of them. It was pitiful. But thank God that He's, shows mercy. He gave me a second phase to go through. And so I made it through this one. I raised baby birds that fell out of nests. I bottle fed baby rabbits that mamas were abandoned, I had baby squirrels for a while. And so I got pigs, which I raised from bottles, and I got a calf. And I helped bottle feed calves. I never raised one. But we had a cow that had twins, and she did not want one of them. She actually brought this baby to my yard, to my fence, and left it. And she took the other one with her. So that's a God thing. So his name was Red. And for a year, I walked around with my clothes sopping wet because he sucked on the end of my shirt tails, on my shorts, on my skirts, everything I had. That's why he was. He was there with me everywhere. And I bottle fed him. And when he got big enough to start weaning, I turned him loose with the other cows. And so the very first time that it was still time to have a bottle, he's out there in the field. So I get out there. And I do my call. I go, baby! And all them cows look at me. And so here he comes from way across the 10 acres. And he comes running. And I've got 2 bottles ready. And so he comes up and he gets that first one. And them moms are looking at me like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Sucks down that first one, gets the next one, and then that's it. And so we did that twice a day for a very long time. Now, my baby grew up to be 2,500 pounds of bull. He was so big, you couldn't wrap your arms around his neck, and he wanted you to love him. And so he would push on you to get you to love him. We had a friend come out, and we had some old cars out there that he needed a part off of, and we neglected to tell him about Red. So he was out there taking the part off the car, and he had his back to the pasture. And he said the ground trembled a little bit, and he thought, and then he felt this right down the back of his neck. And he said, I didn't know what to do. And he began to turn around, and there is Red, and he nearly died. And Red started to push. Well, he went ahead and he just kind of petted him like that and stuff. It's all Red wanted, and Red left. Well, sometime later, I had a phone call from our neighbor who was raising Angus cows. And he says, Miss Long, says, your bull is over here with my girls, and says, I've got a trailer. I'm going to load him up and bring him back to you. And I told him, I said, you don't need to do that. Well, yes, ma'am, I don't mind doing that. And I said, no, sir, you don't understand. I said, I'll come to the fence. And I said, he'll come to me. And he says, ma'am, this is a bull. He ain't going to come to you. And I said, yeah, he will. I said, you just meet me over there where the hole is in the fence. And so I get over there and I do my call. Baby! And he goes, "Bah." And I mean, the ground began to tremble and the trees were all shaking as he come pushing through, right back through that hole, right to me, and come up and wanted me to love him. And I loved him. I told him, I said, you were where you shouldn't be. Now let's go home. And that man just could not believe that. So I had lots of preparation. It might not have been with children at the moment, but I had preparation. And what God had prepared me for was children's ministry. And I spent 20 years as a girls' club counselor, and I started teaching the little girls when they were about 4, 5, and 6. And I got to see those little tiny tots. And as I progressed up to Coral Bells and Bluebells and Joy Bells teaching, they followed me right along. And so after I'd had them all those years, I have now got to see what they are. I have one girl that is a pastor's wife. I have another one that married a missionary. I have another girl that is a praise and worship leader, and one actually became children's church director. And so I was very blessed that I had just a little bit to have in their life, to give and to share, because their mothers will never know how much I got from that, having no children, all the love and the joy that they gave me. And it was so wonderful. But the Lord had given me a dream one time, and I dreamed I was on a dirt road, and these old just shacks of houses was all around me. And all these children just came up, little dark-skinned children, and they were just all over me. And I was just loving those kids. And I'm like, Lord, what is that? Well, the church said, you know what? We're going to send you ladies over to Africa. I thought, whoa, that was it. I'm going to Africa. I didn't go to Africa. No. They changed their mind, so I didn't get to go. But I did go to Romania. I was a missionary to Romania for quite a while. And it was the second year that I went. We went into the village of Jepish. And lo and behold, if it was not that road, it was those houses, and it was those children. And so I was very blessed and honored. I had hundreds of children all the years that I went. So I was a mother. I just wasn't a biological mother. And I mothered the best that I could because I just wanted kids so bad, and I just didn't have any. But God blessed me with that. And so if there were a test that you could take before you became a mother, would you still want to be one? I found that test. And I'm telling you what, if I could see some of these absolutely demonstrated, I would love that. But I can't. So I'm going to read you some of these. And I don't know if I would do these. I'd still want to be a mama. But I don't know that I would do some of these things. One of them is that you smear peanut butter on the sofa and the curtains, place a fish stick behind the couch, and leave it there all summer. Now, I'm pretty much thinking that one's going to kind of test you to change diapers. That's the only thing I could come up with there, is it's got to be able to test you on that one. Another one was called the toy test, and it says you take a 55-gallon drum of Legos. Now, if you don't have Legos, use roofing tacks. Okay. Yeah. Have a friend spread them all over the house, put on a blindfold, and try to walk to the bathroom or the kitchen, and do not make a sound. That was so that you could do that, get into the house and keep the kids asleep and you wouldn't wake them up. Okay, the grocery store test. Borrow 1 or 2 small animals, goats are best, and take them with you as you shop at the grocery store. Always keep them inside and pay for anything they eat or damage. Okay, now this is the one I would love to see demonstrated. It's called the feeding test. You obtain a large plastic milk jug. You fill it halfway with water. You suspend it from the ceiling with a stout cord, And then you start to try to insert spoonfuls of soggy cereals, such as Fruit Loops or Cheerios, into the mouth of the jug while pretending to be an airplane. Now dump the contents of the jug on the floor. Okay, the night test. Prepare by obtaining a small cloth bag. Fill it with 8 to 12 pounds of sand. Now soak the sand thoroughly. Okay. At 8 p.m., begin to waltz and hum with the bag until 9. Okay. You lay it down and you set your alarm for 10. You get up, pick your bag up, and you sing every song you've ever heard. And you make up about a dozen more and sing those until 4 a.m. Okay. Then you set your alarm for 5 and you get up, make breakfast, and keep this up for 5 years and look cheerful. The physical test. You obtain a large beanbag chair and attach it to the front of your clothes, and you leave it there for 9 months. I love this part. Now, remove 10 of the beans. Okay, the final assignment was you find a couple who already has a small child, and you lecture them on how they can improve their discipline, their patience, their tolerance, their toilet training, their child's manners, and you suggest many ways they can improve. Emphasize to them that they should never allow their children to run wild. Enjoy this experience because it will be the last time you ever have all the answers. I thought that was so cute. Okay, so now you've decided you're going to have a baby, and we begin the pregnancy process. Once you know you're pregnant, all you can think of is the baby and everything that you can do for it to make sure that you have a healthy child. So you willfully go through the morning sickness, the backaches, the weight gain, the swollen feet, the weird cravings, the stretch marks, the pain of labor, childbirth, the loss of sleep, just for this little precious child that you bring into the world. Interesting fact here is that after your baby is born, you are now going to do 10 diaper changes on average a day. Now, how is that correct? How many? How many? Way? Yeah, see, I figured that. I mean, I don't have to change diapers. No, you're going to be changing a whole bunch. Okay, so at average, if you did 10, it would be 70 a week, 280 a month, 3,360 in a year, 6,720 by the time your child is 2 years old. Okay, by the time your child is 18, I know it's got to be a lot more than this now, you will have spent $311,000, and that does not include their college education. So, yeah. After you've had children, your child believes you have special powers, and I believe this. My mother could see out the back of her head. I know she could, absolutely, because every single time that she'd have her back to us and she'd be telling us, got onto us and everything, and we're going and saying ugly things that, mouthing them and everything. She said, "You better stop that right now. I'm going to turn around and get the belt and wear you out." How did she know? She had to have eyes because she must have seen us. Later on, I realized she could see the reflection in the window. And that was what it was. I also believe that my mother was all-knowing. I skipped school on quite a few occasions. And one time she was out of town visiting family. And I was absolutely sure nobody knew that I had skipped school. And I even got the note together. I had her handwriting down to the T, signed her name off on it, everything. I thought I was clear and there was nothing. But always know, be sure your sins will find you out. Because I heard her on the phone and she's telling her friend, "Yeah, she skipped school the other day. I just can't believe she'd do a thing like that." And I'm like, "Oh my God, how did she know that?" She never said anything to me. And the way she found out was her best friend saw me running around town with the other kids, and she told my mother. So the next time I made sure I didn't go downtown. That way they wouldn't know. But mothers also have, forgot this one. How many of your moms had a special look when you were in trouble? My mom, oh yeah. And could they do it with the smile on their face? Yeah. We were visiting friends one time. My mother was good. And she sat there and we had acted up. And it was that beautiful, pleasant smile, but that look was in her eye. And it was like, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble when I get home. You couldn't enjoy the rest of your time. You kept worrying about it, you know. You're going to get a whooping. I'm going to get in trouble. Oh my gosh. And you just couldn't have fun anymore. That just destroyed it. So then all the way home, you could worried that, okay, is she going to do it when I get home? Or is she going to make me sit in my room and worry about it? Or is she going to wait till the next day? So you're still miserable. And so you get home, and my prayer was, please, just let her whip me now. Get it over with now. No. She'd say, Renee, go do your chores. Go to your room. And I'll see you after a while. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. And you don't go to sleep. And you wait. And then you hear her coming. I was always grateful that it was over with, because the anxiety was worse. I mean, it was worse. And so, but I knew that look, she could do it just like that. And, you knew not to do anything wrong. But mothers also have an amazing power, and that's the power of love. Their kisses make the boo-boos go away. Their touch cools the fevered brow. Their hugs calm the fear during a storm. Their smiles can make you feel like you are wrapped up in a warm blanket. And when they say, I love you, you suddenly feel like you can just conquer the world. So never underestimate the power of a mother's love. And here's another fact. You need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, 12 hugs a day for growth. And so hugs increase feelings of belonging. They build our immune system, and they build our self-esteem. And the journey of motherhood and becoming a godly mother doesn't start with the birth or the adoption or the fostering or marrying into or filling the gap of a mother. It begins with your identity in Jesus, who you are, who has God made you, what is your purpose, everything about you. You are more. And, we always say, well, she's my mom. And there's so much in that MOM. There's so much that as kids, we don't think about this until we grow up. And then when we grow up, it hits us like, man, everything mother did. You are more than the administrator of your home management. You are head of the organization department, head of the complaint department, head of the laundry department, head of the housekeeping. You are head chef. You are head nurse, and you are head guidance counselor. There are a lot more than that, too. There's so many more things. But the most important thing that mothers are is you are a child of God. You are heir to the throne. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are righteous. You are loved. You are created with a purpose. You are chosen, special, and royalty. You are protected. You are strong. Again, a child of God. You lean on God's word as a Christian mother. You use the Bible as your guideline. You try to teach your children this. You try when you tell them, no, you can't do this. You try to use and show them this is why you can't do this. This is what God says. You can't do this because here's what it says right here. You show them. You go to help every day for your guidance and for the Lord to give you strength and to lift you up and help you to continue on. Because it is, there's just so many things. And so one of them is that you always feel like you have to be perfect. A lot of mothers feel like that I'm not perfect enough. My sister, she'd always tell me I'm not a good enough mother. My niece, which is an amazing mother, just never feels like she does enough, that she's not perfect, that I make too many mistakes. Well, what I see as a bystander and see what she does, she's amazing, the things that she does with her kids. And we are not, as mothers, you're not your mom, you're not your sister, you're not your aunt, you're not your grandmother. You are the mother that God created you to be. And we have to put that thought of, I need to be a perfect mother, because there's never going to be a perfect mother. Everybody is the mother they're supposed to be. God tells us that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that his grace is sufficient. In those times that we need that, we have to remember that sufficient means that it's ample, plentiful, able. He meets our needs. He's abundant. He's always there, and always there for us to draw on. A godly mother loves the Lord above all else. And we try to instill this within our children. And taking time to do Bible studies, I helped with my nephews and nieces. I actually almost raised my sister. And then I helped my niece with her children. And we set time aside. She would not do this with her kids, but because we were all together, I did. And we would do the Bible study. And at first it was hard. They didn't want to do that. But as we got into it and we went through wandering in the wilderness, they love that. Because anytime it said, and the Lord said, it was like, oh, something's going to happen. And so, it's like, what's going to happen? Oh, the ground opens up. There was always something going on. And so they loved that. And then we began to pray together. And praying together made them stronger. It made me stronger. It made them stronger. And when they had a need, it was like, Nene, can you pray with me? That's instilling it. Writes the word upon their hearts so they never forget it. And put little notes in their lunch, reminding them that I love you, but so does Jesus, Anything to give them that. I always like to find a little note. It's like a surprise. And so spend the time in the car. And that's what we did. We always had praise and worship music in the car. And when the nephews and us would get in the car, that's what we did. We sang all the time. It didn't matter if you could carry a tune or not. The Lord sees it as beautiful. So we would sing and do that. And most above all, I learned this as a kid. I used to think that the only place that you could find God was in church. And then I realized he's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at. It don't matter if you're down at the creek wading in the water. It don't matter if you're fishing. You can be in the shower. Lord is there. Anytime you need to talk to him. And I taught my girls in Girls Club that you pray whenever you feel the need. Talk to him like he's your friend. And I talk to myself. Mark will tell you that. And a lot of times it's just talking to the Lord. He's there. I spend a lot of time alone, people. So Lord was my my friend. And so, but it's teaching them that he's everywhere and anywhere. And it isn't just boxed. It's open. And we need to teach them to be strong and courageous and not be terrified. Don't be scared of everything that's going on around them. Fear is of the devil. God will give you the power to overcome anything. Just be strong. And so those were some of the things that we can do. Mothers encourage their children. Lift them up. My mother was not a good mother. I can tell you that right now. She was terrible. She didn't care for my sister. That's how come I helped raise her. She grew up in the church, spent all her years in the church, but she walked away from the Lord. And when she walked away from the Lord, some of that, I think the real mothering part went with it. But I actually got to see my mother come to the Lord. She made sure we went to church. And I was in a Baptist church at that time. And they had a revival. And so I asked my mother, I said, would you go to church with me tonight? And she said, yes. I couldn't believe it. And so we get in church. The Spirit convicted her so bad. And she went to the altar and got saved. And It was amazing. I will never forget that. I am so pleased that I got to see that happen. And then the struggle for her began because my dad was not a Christian. Yet again, he was raised in the church, but he stepped away as well. So for many years, she lived a godly life and lived it alone because he did not share that with her. And there used to be a song that said, I've been changed, I've been newborn, all my life has been rearranged. That was a testimony to my mother. If I ever needed to know the power of God's love and salvation, all I had to do was look at who my mother used to be and what God made her. When she came back to the Lord, our relationship had to work. We had to try to grow one. We never had one. And needless to say, at the age I was at, it was rebellion years. So it didn't work as well as it needed to. It wasn't until 1987 when I made a complete commitment to the Lord that our relationship began. Everything that I missed growing up, everything that other girls had, I finally got. My mother and I had been, it was almost like an umbilical cord. We did a skit about that because we could finish each other's thoughts. We worked together in ministry all those years. She was my mentor. And it was just like we just knew everything that we thought. We would spend hours on the phone talking about the children's ministry and what we were going to do and the plans that we were going to make. We sang together. We did everything together. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. And I loved her so much. You know, as a Christian mom, she was an amazing mother. The love that she had was just wonderful. The other kids, my brothers and sisters, didn't get to experience as much of that with her because they were living in different places. But I did. And in 2007, I lost her. But she went to Romania with me as well. And she was the teacher for so many years, and I was the helper. And as time grew longer, I became the teacher, and she became the helper. And before she passed, I took care of her. So God blessed me so much to give her back to me that I would have that time with her. And so I was very grateful. The journey of motherhood can be an overwhelming one. And so I saw those struggles as well in my mother. It wasn't always easy. I mean, we were really bad. I mean, it got to the point that she'd say, I know one of y'all did it. I just don't know which one of you. So I'm going to whoop all three of you. And I'm like, no, it wasn't me. That's when you go to point. No, it's really this one. No. I don't believe you now. You didn't come up with it in the first place. So, and we would. And we would do that. And do you know, today I laugh at some of that because my mother was a whooper with the belt. That was back then. And my brother had nerve to take woodwork in school. And you know what he makes that he's so proud of? He makes a paddle. Okay, and do you know what he does to that paddle? He drills holes all in it. And he's so proud of that. He gives it to my mother. And I'm like, are you an idiot or what? You can hear that thing coming. I mean, you knew duck, but don't duck. That made it worse. But it's like, why in the world would you give such a gift? And you know, and why would we as kids, if Mama said, go cut me a switch from the tree so I can give you a spanking, why in the world would we do that? We did, but sometimes we chose the wrong one, and we chose those little thin ones, thinking that wasn't going to hurt. They really did, yeah. And so, but that was an obedient child, so we were obedient. But mothers do go through a whole lot, and the devil is going to attack you as a Christian mother, definitely. He's going to cause you to doubt yourself. He's going to make you question your abilities. He's going to tell you you're not good enough. Your neighbor's a better mother than you are. You're not pretty enough. You haven't got that baby weight off. You're not strong enough. You're not holy enough. You're not sanctified enough. And you're not righteous enough. Okay, this is where we get really good and strong. It's time to pull up your knee highs, tie back your hair, get them earrings out, Put your stomping shoes on because you're fixing to stomp the devil into the ground. This is the time that you say, "Get thee behind me, Satan. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am more valuable than many sparrows. I am more precious than pearls. My God knew me before he formed me in the womb. He knows the number of hairs upon my head. My God says I am a treasure. My God says I am an heir to the throne. My God says I am his child. And my God holds me in the palm of his hand, and nothing can remove me from him." That's right. There is an old song that says, "Stand still and see his glory. Watch as his mysteries unfold." When the devil gets on you and tries to beat you down, stand in front of that mirror and you look and behold one of God's most magnificent creations, Mother, you.
Amen.